Right, this is Marco Palmero, founder of Ulysses in Dubai, and in this video I want to talk about greed. Greed when it comes to selling a small business, because I've been through so many cases of small business owners who end up not selling their company simply because they're too greedy. And so I want to talk about the mistakes people make when they get greedy in a transaction and some of the other mistakes they might make as they step into the deal making arena. Now, I'm going to share my personal experience. So those are situations I've been through directly when I'm looking at companies for Ulysses, when we go ahead and look at transactions that we want to acquire. And so those are, again, real life examples. Hopefully they will be helpful for you if you're looking to buy or if you're looking to sell your business. So the story I want to tell you is a company that we found a couple of years ago, actually. This company was a healthcare business in the UAE, and the owner was looking to sell the business because he had some personal matters he needed to take care back home. So he wanted to relocate outside of the UAE and pursue other interests. This was something that he wanted to do, in a reasonable time frame. So he had a time constraint on the deal, and it appeared to be fairly motivated. So we felt we had a deal to be made there. We took a look at the transaction and we saw that overall the transaction was doable for us. The problem was that the owner was asking for too much money. If I remember correctly, at the time was asking for around 8 million dirhams, which give or take is $2 million. And we felt the company could be worth around 5 million if we were to defer payments over a certain amount of years. And so we said that to him that, based on markets and many other variables, that was probably the best offer he could get out of that business based on the conditions, based on the current status and the operations themselves. So the owner decided to turn down our offer, saying that he would certainly get a much better offer from somebody else in the market. And of course, that might have been the case because the UAE, it's a very vibrant market when it comes to deal making. But after looking at more than, 1,000 transactions, maybe more than that, I can assure you that when we put out an offer, we're pretty sure it's going to be the best possible solution for both sides. And so I said to him, listen, you're not going to get the amount of money you want out of this business simply because that figure is not achievable. And what I shared with him, in a very open manner, was that if he wanted to stick to that particular approach, he would find himself in a lot of trouble because he had some time constraint and he wanted to get a deal done, let's say in 6 months. And the more he was getting closer to that deadline, the more buyers were going to squeeze him for less money. And so he had an opportunity to sell his company for a very strong valuation, the one we gave him, but he decided to turn it down because he wanted to be greedy. Now, the interesting point about that is that 3 months later, I saw the opportunity listed on broker sites, and it was listed for probably around the price that we were asking for, maybe even less than that. Long story short, we didn't approach the owner again because we never renegotiate transactions. But as time went by, 9 months later, I saw the same exact business now listed for about a tenth of the price that the owner was asking for in the beginning. So as I mentioned to you, initially was asking for around 8 million dirhams. 9 months later, the same business was listed for about 1 million dirhams. So why am I telling this? Well, first of all, to share very openly that when we put out an offer, chances are it's going to be the best that you're going to get for that particular asset. And there's no point in you arguing with us. The second point is, if you have a time constraint on you, and you get a solid offer from a buyer, it's very stupid for you to get greedy as a small business owner, because then you're going to end up in a situation where a lot of other buyers are going to be on the table. They're going to try to squeeze you, and the moment they understand that you have a limited time frame before getting the deal done, they're going to rip you apart, really. And that's what happened to this business. It was not able to sell the company within the expected time frame, and after that period the company was listed for a fraction of what the owner was looking to get out of it. And so that is, for me, and for us as a company, was a huge lesson of how small business owners mess up the transaction where they have a solid deal on the table simply because they feel they can get a little more for what they got. And there are actually two problems that I want to outline here. The first is UAE and Middle East tend to be that way when it comes to M&A and business transactions, simply because people believe that investors are going to have a lot of money and they can afford to pay crazy multiples. So implicitly, a lot of sellers think that they can ask for more and get it. And to some respects, some companies did pay premiums for businesses back in the day. But the problem is, not all investors would do that, and not all M&A companies would do that. And we are a lot smarter than you are if you're a small business owner. So we know when we're paying a premium, and we decide willingly to pay it. But if we decide that that business is not going to go over a certain threshold, you're going to get that amount of money and not a penny more. And so the point is, it's pointless for you to try to squeeze more money out of investors. They're smarter than you are. You're not going to get paid more unless they want that asset so badly that they're willing to give you the golden exit. But that happens 1 in a million times. The other point is, many times small business owners are trying to get rich off of one transaction because they spend their entire career building a business, and now they are looking to exit. In most cases, that company is going to be their retirement plan, or they're going to use it to invest in another venture. But the point is, they want to capitalize on the efforts they put in over 20, 30, 40 years of work. And that is one of the huge problems they face, that sometimes that value they created over 40 years is not what they have in their mind. So they might have created a company that is worth 2-3 million and they think it's worth 20, but that, simply because they think the company is worth that amount of money, is not going to make it tradable in the market at that amount. So the reason why I want to share this story and some other experience that hopefully I'll get to share in other videos is because many times transactions fall apart because small business owners get greedy. And I'm sure, if you're watching this video, if you are acquiring assets, you understand what I mean. If you are a small business owner, I'm sure you understand what I mean by this too. The point is, if you get a solid deal on the table and if you think that is reasonable, chances are, you should take it, at least from my perspective. And that's one of the reasons why I stress the idea of getting your company valued beforehand, even with small valuation reports that don't necessarily need you to pay huge fees to consulting firms, but just a small analysis that enable you to get a feeling for what the company is worth, so that you can then approach the market in a more confident manner and also know when to settle and what to settle for. That is really important from my perspective. And again, this story is a clear example of how greed kills transactions. And the sad ending of that story is that the company is still for sale to this day. So almost 2 years have passed and the business hasn't sold. So it's kind of like a good lesson for all small business owners that are looking to squeeze every single dollar out of their business. Beware of what you're doing, because you might end up in trouble. And again, if you're lucky enough to get your golden exit, God bless you. But it's going to be more difficult than you think. And if you have a deal on the table that is reasonable, then you think it's solid, in most cases you should take it. That's just my perspective and what I've learned after being in similar situations many times over, because this is not the only time a small business owner turned us down because he wanted to be greedy and then ended up selling the business either for less money or not selling the business at all. So I hope this video is helping both acquirers and small business owners in their process.